Hello all and welcome to Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on this gorgeous little bookmark that you see right here. Now, as you know, yours truly, for my regulars would know that I'm actually heading into the city for a couple of weeks or a week and a half or however long it takes to do a job for a friend. So I'm going to need something to read on the train, and here's a beautiful book written by the wonderful Eugene O'Neill. It's a play actually called Long Day's Journey into the Night, and I decided my children gave me this for Mother's Day, and I decided that it would be great to have a beautiful bookmark for that book. All right, so let's talk about the bookmark real quickly. First, let's talk about the beautiful colours. The colours you see today are Bendigo Woollen Mills cotton. I'll show you that in a minute. But the colours were chosen by the lovely Corrine on one of our live antics here at Crochet Designs. Now, we have lives at 10 a.m. Saturday mornings and 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons, Melbourne, Australia time. On Saturday mornings, we have a thing called Live Antics, and you get a chance as a subscriber to choose the colour combination of our very next tutorial. And this particular one was chosen, or these two colours were chosen by the lovely Corrine. I thank you very much for your beautiful colours, and I was mentioning during the live that I was a little bit skeptical about using orange and pink together, but they look simply divine. I'm going to try and get some kind of different lighting. There we go, there's a different lighting to it. There's different lighting to it, but it just looks simply divine. Let's talk about the yarn. So the yarn we have is, this particular one is called Blush. It's the pink, the dark pink. It's a 4-ply, and it's a 100% cotton, and it calls for a 3mm hook. To keep mine nice and tight, I used a 2.5mm hook. There's nothing wrong with using the 3. All right, you can actually use the 3. It will loosen up your stitches a little bit, and maybe it will definitely make it bigger, and we'll talk about the measurement in a minute, but maybe make it a little wider as well if you like yours a little wider. All right, so it is a 4-ply, which is a 2-weight or a lightweight overseas, so it's quite a thin yarn. Yeah. All right, so that's enough about the yarn. This is Blush. I can't for the life of me remember what the orange was called. Let's just simply call it orange. I don't have the label to it. I'm sorry, guys, but it is an orange. Yeah. Now let's talk quickly about measurements and the other items that you will need. Mine measures 17. Let's get a close up. Let's move it back. Mine measures 17.5 centimeters, or 7 inches, or roughly thereafter. Well, very close to 7 inches, because if you look carefully. Actually, you know what? We should use this side because it has both of them. So there's your 7 inches and there's your 17.5. We'll do it again to see how close it is. Oh no, it is actually 7 inches exactly. How cool is that? All right, and the width of it is about just over 4 inches. Let's try that again. Just over 4 centimeters and nearly 2 inches. It's 1 3/4 inches, if that helps, right? So if you wanted to make yours wider, you need to go up to a 3mm hook. You can also use an 8-ply or a DK weight cotton. It won't make it too big, but if you're going to use the 8-ply or the DK weight, use a 3.5mm hook instead of the 4 that it does call for. All right, so there you go. That's the information you will need. You will need, and this is what I used, you will need 5 stitch markers for this particular tutorial. You'll need a pair of scissors, and you will need your sewing needle, which has gone missing. Here it is. You will need that sewing, weaving, darning needle. Now, make sure you use a thinner one. Mine was a little too thick, so I struggled to get through the stitching. However, I still did it. You know, it still worked. So make sure you have one. You will need one. We worked on this piece here today. Now, the reason was I had already recorded this, and sadly for me, the recording didn't work too well because I did an update on the camera and it changed all my settings, as you do. So we worked on this one today, but this was the original that I worked on last week for the actual trip into the city. All right. So thank you very much for joining us today. Good luck creating this gorgeous little bookmark, colour combination by the lovely Corrine on our Live Antics. Good luck. Alrighty guys, we're going to start off with the magic loop or the magic ring or the magic circle. Just pop your tail end of your yarn in front of your fingers, grab your working end, wrap it around 2 fingers like so, and I'll give you a close-up. And then just turn your fingers out and you can see that tiny little letter X that you have formed. Pop your hook under the first loop and pull that back loop up and forward, like so. You've got to grab everything in one hand, like so, and just transfer it over into your other hand. All right, I do have a link to this, how to do this with thicker yarn. Actually, I'll pop that link in a description box down below. It'll be the very first link you come to, and it will be called the magic loop in the description box. All right, so now what you've got is this. Just chain 1, which is yarn over your hook, and pull a loop through to the loop on your hook once. Now you have this really big center. Do we really want our center to be that big? No. So you grab your tail, you gotta hold everything first, and just give it a gentle tug. Leave a little bit there. You need to be able to pop your stitches in. All right, so what you're going to do here is you're going to chain another 2. So 1 and 2. Normally we would put a stitch marker in there, but just wait a moment because it's quite thin, the yarn. We're going to do 1 double crochet, and that's double crochet US terminology, treble in the UK terminology. So it's yarn over your hook, just hold it there, and remember your little circle. You're going over your 2 loops of the circle. Yeah, pull a loop through like so, and you have 3 loops on your hook. Yeah, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and this is where you're going to pop your stitch marker now. So grab a stitch marker that's the right size. I tried the larger size off air and it was way too big and it took up a lot of space. So what you've got is that's the stitch that you just completed. You want to pop your stitch marker in the top 2 loops right there, sorry about the big fingers, of the stitch before it. All right, I just wanted to show you a nice close up there. All right, that's your stitch, and that's your chain 3, the 3rd chain of chain 3 before. Yeah, all right, I hope that helped. Now chain 3 will act as a double crochet in this particular tutorial. Yeah, so you got 1, 2, and now you need to do a 3rd double crochet in there, hook in, pull a loop through. Well, let's try that again because I rushed through that for you. Sorry about that. Let's try it again. Yarn over your hook. Oh, this is too close now, isn't it? Yarn over the hook, yeah, into the loop, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And you've got your 3 double crochets now because that chain 3 will act as a double crochet. All right, so now you're chaining 1 for the first corner, or in this case it's really the second corner. No, we'll call it the first corner. Yeah, so now you're going to put 3 double crochets in the same center. Yarn over your hook into the center, remember that's trebles in the UK terminology, and do your first double crochet. Now this might come across really wide. Give it a gentle tug, close it a little bit, not too much. Okay, and pop in your 2nd double crochet. Sorry about the big fingers, guys. This is really thin yarn, yeah? And then your 3rd double crochet. All right, so you did 3 double crochets there, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, your 2nd corner, another 3 double crochets. Now you won't be able to work the corners out until the next round anyways. I'm going to put a 2nd one there. And a 3rd one. Chain 1, 3rd corner. Now we have our last set. Now these 3 double crochets can be called shells or they can be called cluster sets. Now I'm calling them cluster in this tutorial, but you can call them shells as well. So yarn over your hook, do a cluster of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to chain 1 for your 4th corner. Now we need to not only close up the center, but slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker. But first we're going to close up the center. So let me show you how that goes. It's very simple. You just grab that tail and you give it a tug, and that's where the magic happens. Yeah. Now don't cut it there. You need to weave that end in later, and we'll talk about that later. All right. And so right now what we're going to do is, I can get organized. Grab my stitch marker. Your thread must go at the back, don't leave it in front, yeah? And you're going to slip stitch into the stitch, into that tight stitch, guys, yeah? Slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker. I'm going to take mine out because mine is really tightened up. And all you're doing with the slip stitch is you are popping your hook in those top 2 loops of your chain 3 from the beginning, the 3rd chain, yeah? And then you pull a loop through like so, yep, and then pull it through to the loop on your hook. You have closed up your square. It's a little difficult to see here. I'll show you a bit better later. But now what I want you to do is pull a loop through like so. You're going to cut your work. All right. And just pull that loop right through. And there you go. So when I said I was going to show you a bit better later, this is what I'm going to do. There's your first corner. Yep. There's your second. There's your third. And right there is your 4th. And you can kind of see it a little bit better. All right, so what we're going to do now, let's bring that out a bit. We are now going to do, or what we have to do is have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pinks, but you've already got 1. So what you're going to do now is do 1, 2, 3, 4 more pinks, all right? So I want you to head off on your own, do 4 more pinks exactly the same way as you've done this one. Meet me back here and we'll talk about how we're going to connect them together. All right, so there's a timestamp right there. Go right back to that timestamp. It'll show you exactly how to do this 1 pink. Do 4 more of them and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, now that you've done your 4 pink squares, we are going to be creating the orange part of your work. So let's move this guy over and we'll start making the first orange one. All right, here we go. All right, so we're grabbing our new colour. All right, now I'm using the orange. You can use whatever you like, yep. I would like to start on the opposite corner. So you skip 1 corner and go into your 2nd corner. And you're just popping your hook in the space of the corner. I hope that made sense. So grabbing your orange and just pulling your tail through like so. And you're going to chain 1, 2, and 3. Now you can try and get your stitch marker in now, or you can wait until you do your first double crochet over the tail that you've got in front. All right, just crochet over that tail for now. You don't have to. If you don't want to crochet over your tail, you don't have to. You can do that at the end and just weave it in at the end. We're going to crochet over it and weave it in. So grab your stitch marker and pop it in the 2 loops of the chain before the stitch. That's the stitch we just did, and this is the chain before the stitch. All right, so there you go. So remember, the chain 3 will act as a double crochet, and you've got your 2nd double crochet there, and now you are popping your 3rd double crochet right there. All right, and now you chain 1 and you do your 2nd set of 3 double crochets over your tail of your work. Two, 1 more, and 3. Now pop your tail at the back and continue on into the very next corner. Now I'm talking to you about the jargon of crochet as well, which means the way we say things, because when you read my patterns, that's what you will see. All right, so skip over 3 double crochets or skip 1 cluster, yarn over your hook, go straight into the very next corner with a corner cluster set of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, and then 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. Super easy, yeah? And you've done your second corner, yeah? Then, once again, you're going to jump over the cluster set here and go into the corner. Now, there are many ways you can do this because we have a tail for the corner. You can actually, if you want, pop the tail in your hand and crochet over it, or leave it and sew it all up later. All right, so I'm going to put yarn over the hook. I'm going to jump into the corner whilst I've got my tail in my hand and do 1 double crochet first. This is not necessary, you can just do double crochets and then weave that in later. So right now I can let go of it because it's already crocheted over, but we're still going to weave that in later as well. So you do your 2 more double crochets. 1, let's bring that out a bit, it's too close here, and 2, all right, chain 1. Guess what? You have another 3 in there. Off you go doing your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. All right. Yarn over your hook, skip your 3 double crochets, jump into your next corner with your corner cluster set of 3 double crochets. Now you can start to see the square in this round, yeah? All right, so we go chain 1 and your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. All right, there you go. So what you have now basically is that. All right, so what I want you to do is slip stitch straight into the stitch with your stitch marker. I think that might be loose, this one. She's telling lies again, telling fibs. Slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker or into the same stitch as your stitch marker. And that's those top 2 loops right there. It has loosened it up for me, the stitch marker, which is a really good idea to pop them in. Pull a loop through. Pull the loop through to the loop on your hook. Basically what you have there is a square. Pull up a loop. As long as you like, we're going to weave them in later, so it doesn't really matter. And give your work a cut. And there you go. So that's your very first orange round done. To do your second orange round, that's a little different. So grab your square, and this time I want you to start, see there's the tail there, I want you to start in the corner before the tail. Let's bring that up a little so you can see what I'm doing. Pop the hook in the corner before the tail, because we're going to have a few tails in this round, all right? I'm not doing my tails on purpose so that we can do them together. Pop your orange thread over your hook. Pull the loop through like so. Once again, you are just passing it forward to lock it into place like you did in the previous square, and you are doing your first cluster set or your first corner set the same. So 1, 2, and 3, everything's the same here. You pop your double crochet in like so. You can pop your stitch marker in there, I'm not going to bother right now, and you can do a third double crochet altogether, because your chains will act as your first, and then you are chaining 1. And from here you're going to put your other 3 double crochets. So this part of the square has not changed, and your next part of the square wouldn't have changed either. But after that we're going to be doing something a little different. All right, so finishing off your corner, grab your little tail end and passing it at the back, and there's your very next corner right there once again. So you're grabbing your tail, you don't have to if you don't want to, yarn over your hook, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2, and complete your corner. So I'm going to pick up speed a little bit here so that we can get on to the next phase. Chain 1, as you know this part, you've done this already with the other square. 2, 3. All right, now we're going to jump into the next corner, right somewhere. Get it? Somewhere right there. There it is. Jump into the next corner right there, but we're not doing a full set. We're only doing 1. So yarn over your hook. You're just going to do 3 double crochets, and off you go, doing 1, 2. Oops, that didn't work. Let's try that again. 2 and 3 double crochets. You're still going to chain your 1, but now what you're going to do is grab your other square. Now you can put your square any way you like, right? Your tail, I mean, any way you like. I'm going to leave it right there. We're going to grab our piece like this. No, we'll put the tail on the right hand side like that. So we are working in this piece right here, that corner there. Yeah, so you've got your right side of your work is this way, and you can tell it's nice and neat. The wrong side's kind of all little bubbled and jaggedy. Jaggedy, is that a word? Jagged. So nice and neat, a bit messy looking, and that's where your tails would be. If you have yours not weaved in, they'll be there. Grab your little tails, pop your yarn right up the top like that. You've got your corner. What I want you to do is work into that corner. All right, I'll just close it to show you where to go. And there's your corner. You're popping your hook in the corner. You're pulling a loop through. It might be a little bit loose. Just tighten it up real tight, and then pull that loop through to the loop on your hook. And then from there, you're not going to chain 1. Normally we would, but we're not going to in this piece. All you're going to do is pop a yarn over your hook, jump straight back into that corner on the opposite side, just holding everything down if you can, and do 1 double crochet for now, and a second one, and a third. It was a little tricky, and I'll show you again with the next corner, so don't stress too much. That is what you should have. It should not be loose. You should not have a big gap there, and it should not be too tight either. So just be careful not to make them too tight. So while we're here, we're jumping over the 3 double crochets, going into the space right there. Pop your hook in the space, pull a loop through. There's no chaining for this part, yeah, and then pull it through to the loop on your hook. The only time you chain 1 is when you're in the corner, yeah? So tighten it up a little bit, make sure it's tight, yeah? Yarn over your hook, straight into the next corner with 3 double crochets. Don't leave it too loose, and don't make it too tight, yeah? 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. There's your last corner. I'll get a nice close-up for you, right? So once again, your tail is held up in the air, your working end. You pop your hook in the corner, and you pull a loop. Pull that down so you can see what I'm doing. Pull a loop through, like so. Pull it through to the loop on your hook. No chaining, just yarn over your hook, straight into the corner again with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And you have actually finished joining your square to the other square. For now, what you're going to do is slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker in it, if you've got one. I didn't put one in, only because I find them so hard to do. They're really tight because that's my stitching. Grab your tail, pull it through like so. Slip stitching, you know how to do that. You've been doing them all along. Pull it through, pull up a loop. Oh, I have to cut it. Excuse me, Mary. You have to cut it. Cut it and then pull up the loop. Hello. She can do this, people. She can do this. All right. And there's your first square attached. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab yet again another pink. All right. Move that out the way. Now, remember how we started before? There was the knot. We're going to start in the first corner. All right. Grab your little orange tail. Pop it over. Grab your tail, passing it forward, chaining 1, 2, 3. Place your stitch marker there if you can, and do your 2 double crochets. Now you know this part, we did it before, so let's kind of make it a bit faster, hey? Chain 1 and 3 double crochets all over your tail, yeah? I'm rushing a little bit because I want you to get started to do your own, all right? So let's the third one right there, or do it on your own, I should say. Pass your tail at the back, yep, which is a bit sleepy, and grab that tail there, and you're going to pop your very first, let's try your second cluster set in there, or second corner cluster, I should say, of 3 double crochets over the pink tail. You don't have to if you don't want to. And third, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all in the same space right there. So nothing changes here. Yep. But in the next corner, when you jump over your work and you go into that corner, you just do 1 set only of 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. Chain 1. Hold it there. Now remember before how you grabbed 1? Now you're going to grab the double piece that you have there. Again, if you didn't weave your tails in, they would be here. Just as you did before, you just pop it next to each other. Now, if you can't remember what the front and the back is, you can see how nice and neat. That's the front, that's the back. You are facing the back to you. Remember, you keep your tail up, yeah? And you pop your hook in the corner space. Pull the loop through like so. It's a bit tricky. And then pull it through to the loop on your hook, like that. No chaining, just yarn over your hook, jump straight into the corner and do your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And there it is, your first set done. You're going into that space right there with a slip stitch, pop your hook in, pull a loop through, and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Whoops, don't lose your loop like I just did. There you go. And then you jump straight into the first corner. Let's try the last corner. And do your 3 double crochets. She'll wake up any minute now, guys. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. And in the same corner that you're in, you're going to go to the opposite corner and slip stitch, pull a loop through like so, and pull it through to the loop on your hook. No chain, just your 3 double crochets in the same corner. 1, 2, and 3. And then you are going to just slip stitch into the third chain or your one that you have your stitch marker in, whichever that may be. Pull the loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Pull up your loop. Guess what? Cut your work and pull it through. And what you now have is 3 attached. All right, so super easy, yeah? You've done 2 yourself. We did 1, we did 2 yourself. So head off on your own, add your 2 more squares to this piece right here. And in fact, I will leave a timestamp right there. That's the timestamp you go to, and that's where we started on this square. Go head off on your own, add your 2 more squares just at that timestamp right there, and I'll meet you back here. Once you've done and weaved in all your ends except that very last one, I'll meet you back here and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, what you should have is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces attached, or 6 if you decided to do the 6th square. I didn't mention it earlier about the 6th square, but I did leave a little bit of a disclaimer up the top of our little post there. But if you wanted to do the 6th square, make yours a little longer, you could have. So if you want to do another one, by all means go ahead and do another one and return to us. In the meantime, we're going to start by putting the border, the first border row on our piece. So grab your pink and let's get started. All right, pop your hook in your corner, any corner. Yep. Grab the pink, pop it over your hook, pull it through like so. Where is the tail? As usual, passing it forward and locking it into place. Chain 1. But now we're going to do a single crochet in the center, not doubles, yeah? Actually, that is single crochet in the US terminology, and it's actually a double crochet in the UK terminology. So pop your hook in the space, pull a loop through, we're crocheting over the tail, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Grab your stitch marker and pop it in there like so. Yep. And in the same space, you're going to do a second single crochet. In, pull a loop through, or second double for the UK. And then you're going to grab your second stitch marker. All right, just for this round only. Then, whoops, you're going to do a third single crochet. In you go, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both those loops. Grab your tail and pop it at the back now. What I want you to do is move everything over a little bit. We're going to put single crochets in every little stitch you come to, and that's those little V-looking things up the top. But right here in the corner, there is actually a stitch. You don't see it because it's covered by your single crochets, but you pop your hook into the stitch. You can see it right there. There's your 1, and there's your 2, and that one in the corner right there, snug, is your 3rd one. So you pull your loop through like normal and complete your single crochet. That is very tricky, but if you miss that, your rectangle is going to curl up at the ends and you don't want that. All right, so single crochet into your next stitch and your next stitch and your next and your next. And you're doing that all the way across until you get to, which we're going to be there in a second, there. See that little corner? You're going to pop 1 single crochet in the corner, just 1. And then you're going to jump over this center stitching, if you will, like the joins, yeah? But you're going to go straight into the very next corner, like so. But just being wary when you get into that corner that you don't miss that first stitch. So move everything over and try and find the actual, it's very difficult, find that stitch, that first one, like that, right there. Did I get it in the stitch? Yes, I did. See the little stitch there? It's quite tight, but it's there. So find the stitch. If you don't find that stitch and do that stitch, it will be too tight and it will pull in. All right, so make sure you find that stitch. Now we're coming up to a knot, which is very good. Well, no, it's not very good, but at least I can show you how to do it, all right? So you just do a single crochet in your very second double right there. Now again, this is a bit confusing because this single crochet is single in the US but double in the UK. So it's a tiny little bit confusing. Hope you don't get too confused. There is the tail. I'm holding it at the back. We've got a stitch here before the knot. So I'm going to actually do the stitch and crochet over that tail like so. Tighten up. Like that. All right. So that tail is hidden. We're still going to weave it in as well. Yeah. But then you've got your next 3 stitches, which can be a little tricky because you have the knot in that stitch. Now you have a choice. You can go into this part of the stitch, or you can just jump straight into the slip stitched area, which is what I'm going to do in this case. It's a little tight, and just pull the loop through like so. A little bit tight, yeah, but it's there. And you do your single crochet like normal, all right? Then you're jumping directly into your second stitch and then into your third stitch of that cluster set. And then you're jumping into a corner. The last corner in this square, you jump over your stitching and jump into the first corner of your next square. And then remember, you're going to push this over and find the beginning stitch, which is extremely tricky. Now, if you want to skip the stitch, you can. Just know that it's going to tighten your work. Sorry about the big fingers there, but I just want you to find that first stitch, which is right there. You can see the V, yeah? Right there. Pull it through. If you're struggling and you really don't want to find it, just put a second stitch in the corner. It will pull a little bit, but it's probably easier for beginners here. So single, and also we've got a knot coming up again. So if you don't want to hold it and you want to pop your hook in your next stitch, you can also just pop the thread over and then do it that way. Then you're starting your next cluster set. Again, you can pop it here, or you can pop it in the slip stitched area. You put it wherever you find easier. The slip stitched area is really quite tight, so maybe I should put it in the other one, but it doesn't matter. Into the second stitch of that set. I split the yarn, excuse me. I didn't, I put it in the front loop and not both loops, okay? Be careful. Into the second stitch, that's better. Into your third, and into the corner. The last corner. I keep saying first, don't I? Then you've got your stitching right into that first corner space, and you've got to find that little stitch right there. Okay, I found it. See how you can see the tiny little loop there. All right, so I'm just going to do this really fast until I get to the top because I have a lot of tails. All right, so off we go, and I'm going to pop this on fast, and you can slow it down if you want, and off we go. All right, we are right up near the corner. I've done my last stitch, and there's the very, very corner of the work, right? So we're going to hop into the corner with one single crochet and a second single crochet. Hold it there. Grab your stitch marker, pop it in your second single crochet, and a third single in that corner. So what you've got is single 1, single 2 with your stitch marker, and single 3, or double for the UK. Move everything over, find that very first stitch, which is snug in there, and do your single crochets, all the way until you get to the very next corner, which is not far, so I won't pop that on fast. Almost there, almost there, almost. We have one more. All right, so we are here in our corner. One. And then you do a second one. And what are you going to do here? You're going to grab your stitch marker, pop it in that second one. And we're going to do a third single crochet in the corner. Moving it over and doing your single crochet in the tight stitched area. Don't think I went into both stitches. That's better. Into both loops I meant. Single all the way across until you get to your very next join. And this side is exactly the same but better because there's no threads. Oh, I think there might be one, but I can't remember. There's the corner, the first corner. Now you jump over your stitching, single into the next corner, move it over, single in the stitch, and off you go, all the way across. All right, so what I'm going to do, I know you know what you're doing here, so what I'm going to do is pop this on really fast until we get to that very next corner, and I'll meet you there once we're done. All right, so off we go. Alrighty, how did you go, guys? It's a good thing you weren't listening because this stitch marker was dragging all over the board and it was making a whole lot of noise. Alright, so here we go. We're going to split our piece there and we're going to do our 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, hold it there, grab your stitch marker. Now I wanted to show you one of my stitch markers that are relatively old. They look like this. Normally I use the closed ones, but I wanted to show you this one here, just for the sake of showing you a different kind of stitch marker. And there you go. You don't always have to have the same that I have. You can use different ones, whatever suits you. In the same corner, you're popping your third single crochet. Get excited, guys. We're on the next section. And we're going to keep going all the way across, nice and close, almost there. We'll have one more row to do after this. All right, so nearly there, nearly there. And we have one more stitch there, right there. Now, if you remember correctly from the beginning, we already have 3 single crochets here. But this is the first stitch, and that's the one we slip stitch into. Now, hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, the first one, but slip stitch into that first stitch, not the blue stitch marker, the first one. So grab that first one first, slip stitch, pull a loop through, chain 1, and do a single crochet in the same stitch that you're in, like that. Pop your stitch marker back in there, you'll need it at the end of the round. Alright, now in your next stitch, which is your blue stitch marker, you can take that out now. In that very next stitch, you are doing a single crochet. And this is where we talk about picots. Now, if you are new to crochet, just chain 3 and do a second single crochet in the space, all right? But if you want to try this stitch, now I'm going to bring it up real close, sorry about the big fingers. This is the stitch you need to try. It's called a picot. You are chaining 1, 2, and 3. And then, if you look carefully at your stitch, you've got the front top loop of your stitch and the base loop of your stitch right there. See if I can get that in there. Just a loop like that. So you should have 2 loops on your hook. Well, 3 there, 1 up there and 2 down here. Then you pull a loop through those 2 loops and through to the loop on your hook. That is called a picot. We're going to do another one soon, but that's called a picot. Then in the same space you are putting a single crochet. All right, so if you are new to crochet and you're struggling with the picot, just do a single crochet, chain 3, and then single crochet in the same space. But that is what the picots look like. They are simply divine, and they look better once you've finished your row. See the little V's right there? V, 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 V. You need to go in every one of those stitches. Don't miss any, yeah? So your first one is right there. Now the reason I say that, single crochet tightens up your work. If you miss a stitch, your bookmark is going to pull in, and you don't want that. So single crochet in every stitch. It's a little difficult to see with this small stitching. I'm trying to blow up the camera lens to have a closer look at all the stitches. Don't you love it? All right, so there you go. Oh, it's very tricky for me. Single in every stitch all the way across. Single, single, single. Whoops, try that one again. Single. All right, now here's where the join area is. So you can see we've popped one in the corner and then we've jumped over. But wherever you see a V, single in the V. Don't even worry about the join. Just find the next V, which is right there, and do the single crochet. It's truly easy. Just it's got, the stitches are small, that's all. All right, so your job now is to single crochet into every stitch, get to that corner, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty, so here we are at the end of this side. I asked you to get to your first stitch marker there, or your blue stitch marker. Yeah. All right, and so what we're going to do, might be too close. Sorry, guys. All right, so what we're going to do is do our single crochet in that second last stitch, or I should say last stitch before the stitch marker, which is actually the first stitch of the corner. All right. Remember, we put our stitch marker in the second stitch of the corner, yeah? So what you're going to do is do a single crochet in the stitch with your stitch marker. It might help if you want to take it out while you're doing that. So you do a single crochet in that stitch. Then you perform your picot. And remember, if you are new, just chain 3 and do another single crochet in there. Or you can take a risk and try this stitch. So you're chaining 1, 2, and 3. And down here you have the top loop of your stitch, just one loop, pop your hook in, and the base loop of your stitch. Pull a loop through like so, and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Single crochet in the same stitch that you are in, exactly the same stitch, normal single crochet like so, and you have your picot right there. All right, so far you have the 2 picots at the end. Now before we continue, just a quick heads up, I didn't mention this and I probably should have. If you wanted to, you could have popped a picot in the middle of every square, or even on top of the actual joins. Okay, you could have done that. I'm just trying to leave it as basic as possible so that it remains flat for the book that you're reading, yeah? Let's do that. Let's bring it back up again. Excuse me, Mary. Let's go. All right, so we are now going to do our single crochet in every stitch until we get to our very next stitch marker. It's not far, so I'm not going to pop it on fast. But I just want to take the opportunity while we are here to thank the lovely Corrine for her beautiful colours. I really have been proven wrong. I thought these colours were going to clash, but they really are gorgeous together. So I'm really quite taken back by it. Thank you, Corrine, for allowing me to step out of my comfort zone. All right, so there is your very last stitch. In actual fact, your first stitch of the corner. Your second stitch has the stitch marker. That's where you're going to do your picot. But before you do the picot, you pop a single crochet in the stitch, like so. And you picot. And that is 1, 2, and 3. Oops, loosen it up. And again, you are going down that top loop and down the base loop. Pull a loop through like so and pull it through to the loop on your hook, and then single crochet right back into the stitch like so. Yeah, being careful not to miss that very next stitch, which is right there, like so. And then you are single crocheting across the row. All right, so I don't think I need to show you any more of this round. But what I want you to do, anyway, for the sake of it, is single crochet all the way across, get to your final stitch marker, and I will meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are. Get excited, get excited. Alright, so I've actually done my very last stitch before the stitch marker. So I'm going to take out this stitch marker. And we're going to do a single crochet in the second stitch. Right there. Single. And then we're going to do our picot. Chain 1, 2, and 3. And what are we going to do? We're going to pop our hook down the side of the top stitch there, and, oops, and then the base stitch of the stitch. Base loops, really. Pull the loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, popping a single crochet right back into the same stitch. Yeah, and then a single crochet all the way across to your very last stitch marker, which is your first stitch marker, really. All right, so I'm going to pop that down. You don't need to see me do that. See if I can try and go fast. I can't see the stitches now. Can you believe it? I can't see the stitches. The crocheting is too small. So we are on that very last stitch. Now don't be confused with that little bit in there, because that is a slip stitch, all right? But in the meantime, we're going to do one last single crochet in the last V, or last letter V, and then we're going to slip stitch into the stitch with the stitch marker. You do that, guys. You just mine's so tight. Well, it doesn't help when you're using a small hook and thin thread, yeah? But there you go. Stop complaining, Mary. Let's do it. Slip stitch into the stitch with a stitch marker, like so. Pull the loop through, pull it through to the loop on your hook. Guess what? Pull up your loop, grab your scissors, give your work a cut, and really pull in to make the knot tighter, and then just give everything a tug. What you have is one complete bookmark. I have two. You have one. This is the failed recording, this one. This is the new recording. So your job now is to turn around and weave in these ends. But before you do, I'm just going to quickly show you this last end. A lot of people get confused with this last end. All right, so I'll just show you real quickly, just briefly, and we'll get nice and close. All right, so now wherever your knot is facing, you can either go this way or you can go that way. I think I'll go that way because it'll look like a stitch. So you just go into the stitch like so, oops, oops, and pull it down, and it kind of hides into the stitch, yeah? Then you turn your work around like so, and you find somewhere to pop your thread through. Now I just usually grab a little loop in the back of the stitch like that. Even if you're splitting it, it doesn't really matter. Preferably don't split it, but I just did there, so I'm not going to tell you what not to do because I just did it. Give it a tug and it pulls your work down. Then all you're going to do is find some stitching along here to pop your needle through. Yeah, just check the front and make sure you can't see the needle. Yep. So you're popping your thread through there for now. This is probably not the right needle, it's a bit thick. Being careful not to pull too tight or your work will tug, yeah? And you're going to go back in the same direction in different stitching. Now you can go up, you can go down. I'm just going to go down a little bit, pull up one loop, make sure you can't see the needle from the front, yeah? Like that. And then find some stitching along the base if you can. Otherwise you can go back into the same stitching because you've gone into a different thread. All right, it's very tight at the back because this is single crochet and we have used smaller hooks and thinner yarn, so everything's going to be a little tight. The bonus with tight is your thread will not come undone. But yours truly, you know me guys, I'm not happy. I would like to do a little bit more. I might even do some under here. Although we need to do this under there, so I'm going to leave that. I might go back in the other direction. So this is entirely up to you. This is what I do. I split a stitch and then I go in other stitches instead. Whoops, like that. All right. Turn around, check that you can't see the needle. Yeah. The only reason if you can see the needle, it will mean that you'll be able to see the thread and you don't want that. I think we're done. We are talking 3 times there, yeah? So make sure you're all happy with it. Grab your scissors, being careful not to cut your work. Cut your thread, give it a tug and your thread should disappear. All right, so that's that. All right, so there you go, guys. You now have one, complete bookmark, yeah? So yours truly will have something to use in the city when I am reading my favourite book, or should I say my favourite playwright. So having a careful look at your bookmark. Like I said, if you made an extra square, your bookmark will be a little bit longer and both ends will stick out. But if you don't want that, you just pop your bookmark in the middle there and that's the page you're ready to read from. All right, so thank you very much for joining us here at Wow Crochet Designs, making this gorgeous bookmark colour combination by the lovely Corrine, one of our subscribers on Live Antics at Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. If you would like to be a part of that, then all you need to do is be on our live that time and your name will go into the little hat and we will pull out the name and you will get a chance to choose the colour combination of our very next tutorial. Thank you very much for joining me. Happy reading and I hope you love your bookmark. Ciao for now.